welcome to another Dwarven Tavern review. This time we are goofy, apparently. Well, I say we because I don't want to take the blame all by myself. This time we're going to review Dungeon Fantasy role-playing game. And this is from Steve Jackson Games. Hoopla. Much hoopla. And it's good hoopla. Here we go. I'm looking at the box trying to find out how much it costs. And I still don't know. I can give you their phone number, but I don't have the price. Okay,
how about a website for that?
Yeah, it's
somewhere
Steve Jackson Games. Just Google it. It's sjgames.com. And these guys are very cool. I really like GURPS. GURPS is one of my faves. And we haven't really reviewed GURPS.
No, we have not.
We just got into it. I feel horribly remiss because I've seen Steve Jackson Games advertised in old first edition Dragon magazines. And I mean,
you're handing yourself your age away.
Yeah, I know, right? I think. Well, I don't know, but GURPS is.
You think, but you don't know.
I think, but I don't know. That was deeper than I meant it to be. Steve Jackson Games GURPS is a generic universal role-playing system, which means anything, everybody has the same stats, basically from the beginning of characters to the end of time. Regardless of setting, which is cool because that's more like literature and less like genre.
That's very true.
If you've ever had any kind of creative writing or literature classes in your college experience, if you've had college experience, one of the big things about creative writing is that they stress to write for literature and not for genre. And
because if you write for genre, you're putting yourself in too small of a box.
A very tiny box, which this is not.
You should write it and then reread it and be like, wow, this is kind of scary.
Yeah,
AKA it's horror.
And literature, Star Wars, for example, is very literature because Star Wars was based on the Hidden Fortress, which was an old Japanese film. And meaning that it can be taken out of context and put into any kind of situation and still apply. Just like the Firefly series with Serenity and that. Even though I'm not a big fan of that author's work, those authors' works.
That's cool. I like that they have advertisement on the side, not necessarily from SJ Games. They have, they have, I guess it's from their own supply, but they provide different, for example, it says munchkin.sjgames.com/Pathfinder, and that's Munchkin Pathfinder, which looks like a comic, or...
So, it just means, that was a Western set in space, and that makes it kind of literature, even though it was still kind of genre.
But it proved that it put its story before its describing feature.
Its environment.
Right.
Yeah. So, and you may wonder why that's relevant. Well, generic universal role-playing system means that you can roll up characters in any way, shape, or form and have them in any setting. So, we're going to crack open the box here. Oh, look!
The box is open!
The box is henceforth cracked. And this game comes with a bunch of stuff, which is always cool.
It's always
and
good.
If you're anything like me, a bunch of stuff is awesome. Always awesome. So you got maps.
Lots of maps.
Lots of maps.
At least 4 of them. Wow. Okay. I guess it's an expansion.
Okay, sure.
It's a very big map.
It's a very big map. So we could very easily put that under the table here.
We really could. That would be really cool. We should probably do that in another video.
Yeah, we can do that.
Comment below if you want to see that.
Yeah, and then it comes with a couple of fold-out cards of tokens, which I believe they stand up.
These are a bunch of books. So we've got spells, exploits, adventures, monsters. I smell a rat. I thought that said one smell a rat.
One smelly rat. Two.
So it comes with
Gag.
5 books. Can I count? The clock hats. Hank. Yeah, so 5 books. Which it has a. You can go ahead.
Well, it's got dice. It comes with 3 6-sided, and then it has a number of stands for the tokens. There.
So this starts off with the adventurers.
Empty tube.
The adventurers book, which I assume are the characters that you create.
Yeah.
It comes with a spell book, basically, because it's a spell.
Spells. It comes with its own.
It comes with exploits, which I assume are.
Okay, according to this, and I'll read this from the back here, the Adventurers book is 128 pages, and that is the book that helps you roll up your character.
So what I said.
Basically a player's hand.
This is really cool. On the back of the book, it gives a list of, I guess, a cheat sheet for you to look at and get more information from the book itself.
Okay.
Oh, and then there are handy dandy character sheets on the back of the book.
And I would bet money. I don't know for sure, but I would bet that you can download and print out your
totally.
character sheets and that. Yeah, that's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Then the exploits book is 112 pages of rules for fighting, for exploration, sneaking, trading, many other feats for bad things like traps, hazards, combat injuries, and for good things, especially treasure.
Once again, stuff on the back.
Stuff on the back.
Adventure planning form. Ooh, that's new. I don't think I've seen something like that before.
Wow. So what if the end boss comes out and says, I will fight you now, and you're like, no, first I pack my luggage, the itinerary.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I haven't eaten at Narnia McDonald's yet.
Look,
that's on the.
It has, sorry to interrupt. It's got the adventure planning form, the GM control sheet where you list all of your characters' abilities and their names and whatnot, wandering monsters and random traps to keep track of, and then a room record sheet, which I guess is where you keep certain monsters. So that's pretty cool. I like that.
Very cool. Then 80-page spell book with over 350 spells.
Wow.
That's a lot of spells for bards, clerics, druids, and wizards.
Again, another little handy-dandy cheat sheet. I think this is my favorite part of this so far.
It's
really giving
cool
you everything that you would find in like a Dungeon Master screen.
Yeah.
On the back of the book.
So you just set your books up in front of you.
And this has a spell table in the back. Sorry, it's just a drunkenness.
Ooh, she turned into a small chimpanzee.
And yeah, a little list for your spells. So that's cool.
Very cool. Then the monsters is 64 pages of more than 75. So that must be what, 76? More than 75 fiendish foes, which was really one of the biggest problems I had with GURPS. I don't have enough experience with GURPS to just come up with things off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really disappointed that there wasn't more monsters or enemies and foes in the original GURPS book.
Another cheat sheet on the back.
That's what. Oh, it's cheat sheet on the back.
Let's take a look at just some of the monsters that it may or may not have in the book. Real quick.
Yeah, it says more than 75 fiendish foes, many with subtypes and variants. Careful, which I guess that would be more than 75 if you had like one and like a subtype and a...
The layout of this book I don't really like it, but
Really?
that's just my own personal opinion because, I don't know. We'll get into that. But on the back of this one, it gives the index of the monsters and then little monsters, traps, and disease/poison card that you can use to record all of the information for that.
Okay. So if you don't download and print out, you can always cam scan it with your phone and print it out or what have you. Technology is rampant. That was a rampant.
My mouth was full and I couldn't repeat them. So I was like, rampant.
Rampant in our mind. She did a psionic rampant. So then the dungeon is 24 pages of a ready-to-run introductory adventure.
That is super cool.
It is cool.
I like it when they provide examples, and this is like the
examples are important because it tells you what is supposed to be happening.
Yeah, this is the most like well thought out example that they could provide.
Right,
so I like that.
I agree. And then it's got two large double-sided maps,
which we tried to unfold earlier,
to game out battles, and it's got
Ooh,
more
look
than
at this
100.
one. Look at the toxifier.
Oh,
that's cool. It's basically a tornado of man.
A green tornado. Another thing, side effect of White Castles.
Oh my God! Look at this elf. Fabulous.
He's gorgeous.
So freaking fabulous.
He's fabulous. And the way he's got his hips thrust forward, it's almost as if
I'm too pretty to do anything. I don't know why I'm in this game.
I'm so much better than those awesome
So,
slaves.
actually, at first I thought this was just one sheet that you just pop them out. Turns out these are two different character sheets that you can open up.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So there is twice as many as I thought there were.
You better not get any blood on my new Gucci boots.
Oh my God, these are my new favorite Uggs. Can you not?
My Ugg boots. It's made out of faux dwarf chest hair skin.
No, take it back.
And then of course it's got the 3 6-sided dice, which is what we use with the GURPS system. So,
are you summoning the
I
adventure?
am using a Désherbieux. And that's what this is. It's a little card with
I can't take you seriously.
Really, that's a shocker. Okay, so the way these books are lined out. Actually, let me look at the monster.
This is
first.
That's
This is
what
the
I
one you had the problem with.
Yeah, I have an organization problem. Everything has to be organized, and I have to have graphs. So when a book is just plain text, it's hard for me to absorb the information therein.
While I'm reading.
I know, it's too much for me. I'm a visual person. I like to have pictures.
I can see you, so yes. I think it's delineated well. I mean,
like for me, it's a personal thing. I personally.
The small dragon has strength 25, dex of 12, IQ of 12, health of 15, hit points of 25, will of 12.
This doesn't call
perception of 14.
This one doesn't call it classes; it calls it professions.
Professions.
Which in the adventures book, we're looking at 2 different books here. So in the adventures book, it gives an introduction of the actual game, and then it explains like what is GURPS, because I believe while it's using the GURPS system, it is an entirely different thing. Am I correct with that? Like this is not necessarily the GURPS game so much as it is just using the GURPS system.
Well, it's like a difference between D20 Modern and D20 Future. And,
right. So this
Dungeons and Dragons.
This is just Dungeons and Dragons, while GURPS is D20 Modern or D20 Future.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines. Because it says it's powered by GURPS, which doesn't necessarily mean it is GURPS.
This guy's name is Manny.
Mm-mm.
Manny. Earth Elemental is really cool on page 25. Stony Fist. Bunch. 2D plus 4 crushing. Treat as a weapon, not as a body part. They got that information from me. The Earth Elemental is modeled after my fists.
Okay, so with the rolling up your character, so far I'm seeing that it's very straightforward. You have it starts off with the basics, which is, what is your person? Is it an orc? Is it an elf? Then it goes into professions, which is it a druid? Is it a barbarian?
I like this, the giant rat. Catching giant rat or snake or bug like catching little one, but more exciting. Meow meow. The swashbuckler.
That's cute.
I like that.
Actually, I lied. It says races is chapter 3, and then chapter 4 is advantages. I lied because I said races was the basics, but the basics is like what your person actually is. So it goes basics, profession, race, advantages, disadvantages, which is my favorite part of any game because I like my characters to have flaws. I feel like it makes them a little more rounded in personality. Then it goes to skills, skill list, so on and so forth. There's quite a variety of those.
Ooh.
Cash and gear.
Horde Night.
Ooh!
They got horde zombies.
Cash and gear. That includes armor and shields.
Ice Weasel.
Miscellaneous gear, such as basic tools, musical instruments, so on and so forth. And magical items. And then at the very back of the appendix, it gives sample characters so that you can follow along their example that they give to make sure that you're getting all of the parts of the book kind of laid out straight so that you don't have to worry about missing something.
Okay,
That's
so
very cool.
Yeah, it is. It is cool. And multi-hex figures. That's cool.
Yeah, it shows that on the back.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So the way it's laid out, the way it's delineated, it's organized. It's organized really well. I'm really looking forward to having some characters rolled up and playing this. So as a first look, I'm pretty impressed with the organizational techniques and methods used. Just because.
Oh, okay. So, the spells, it starts off with the introduction, and then I skip to chapter 2, which says the spell book. I'm like, what is chapter 1? So, chapter 1 is the principles of magic. Chapter 2 is the spell book, which contents makes up basically the entirety of the book. And then a spell table at the very back, which gives kind of the contents of the book. So, just visiting a spell randomly, we'll go with healing spells. Cleansing. Cleanses the subject's flesh of harmful foreign objects, example, barbed or burrowing missiles, flesh-eating grubs, or monster spines, without the risk of surgery scroll. You must touch the subject to cast cleansing. And then it gives examples. So that's pretty cool. I like that very much. It's a very simple, straightforward spell book. And then on the back of this, it just gives resistance, mana, critical failure table, which is really cool. It gives you a little fumble chart, just in case your magic messes up, so that's pretty cool. I like that. Long distance modifiers, natural strengths, and so on and so forth.
What? Okay. Blocking is an attempt to interpose a shield, cloak, or similar barrier between yourself and an attack. This requires a ready shield or cloak, obviously. And if you've already grabbed and lifted someone, you can block with his body.
That's pretty cool.
I've done that before, and it really works. Not so much for the person you're picking up, but you know. Okay. And then the parry is an attempt to deflect an attack using a ready melee weapon or empty hand. Find your parry active defense score as follows. Parry equals 3 plus half your skill. So, the one thing that I've always been kind of disappointed in the D&D rules and Pathfinder and various other things like that, is that they downplay the value and use of parrying.
Mm-hmm. Because it happens all the time in movies. It
happens all the time in real frickin' life too. I mean, if you know anything about using a sword, and any kind of sword technique at all, the parry is it's really what you should learn first. Because if you don't parry, you won't need to know how to strike because you'll be dead. The parry and riposte for rapier work and things like, I don't know, the point to reverso and various other things where you sweep and capture your opponent's weapon in the process of stabbing them There's various katana techniques where you swing in a wide circle to envelop and the whole thing is to envelop your opponent's weapon, which is in essence a parry and more than likely a riposte. Um, and those things are horribly overlooked in many game systems. I won't point any fingers at 4th edition, but it's just something that should be taken into account. And just them having that section there to me is mondo cool.
I think that we should talk a little bit about the dungeon crawl. This is a basic campaign for you and yours to get started with. I gave it a little look through, and I think that it's pretty neat because it gives you the maps that it provides. It gives you monsters and treasure to put in those things and use it for an actual campaign. Something else I found really cool is while this is a standalone little story, it provides story hooks inside. So it has 2 story hooks on where you can diverge your story after you finish the initial campaign so that you can continue once you get the feel of it. So I thought that was pretty cool too.
That's very cool.
It's on page 9 and page 15. It says in a little side box of, it says where the hooks are.
Dealing with the devil.
That's what the hook is named.
Yeah.
I thought that was a pretty cool addition for it to include, because a lot of times people, they provide a story for you, and then they say, okay, once you're done playing that, have fun. So this is kind of a way to ease you into it a little easier than other games may.
Why does her lower set of arms look confused?
Because that person didn't know how to draw.
Well, it's just funny. It's a multi-limbed, Lilith type serpent demon woman with 6 arms, and the top set of arms is going Rawr! And the second set of arms is like Rawr! And the bottom set of arms are like, what? Huh? Are we fighting? Because I don't have a head. I got boobs for eyes. So I can't really see. I can tell it's cold in this dungeon. Yes, sir. Yeah, it does have some through a portal darkly. Oh, I wonder what that's from. Oh, it's the rock scrote. Yeah, it's got some cool stuff. I like the way it's laid out, and I like. See, the other thing is the thing that I was kind of weirded out because the original GURPS books are, they're big hardbound books like your typical D&D style Pathfinder big hardback books. But the Dungeon Fantasy is all it's all in the small softcover books, and I don't think that's a detriment. Because, well, for one thing, when you're playing and you've got the Dungeon Master or whatever, you got one book and everybody needs it at the same time.
Yeah, that's the worst.
That's the worst. It's like and it's the same way with this for everybody rolling up characters. Everybody would have to take turns with the book. But the Dungeon Master doesn't have to wait until the players are done before he looks up something or she looks up something for in the other book, because everything is separated into separate
That's
books.
something that I like as well, because of the different books we can, like, if someone needs specific spell information, which usually happens, it drives me crazy, because someone hoards the player's handbook because they level up, and then they gotta do their spell work, and it takes freaking forever. So I like that they've included different books for the different parts of the game. It kind of breaks up the player's handbook into 4 separate games for everybody to kind of take turns and kind of circle the books around the table to take care of things in a more timely manner.
Yeah. So I think it's awesome. I can't wait to actually play it. For a first look, I don't have much bad to say about it. It was organized well. Um, I don't. I would give it 5 axes because it's perfectly okay, perfectly functional for what it does. I don't have anything bad to say about it. I didn't see anything, and this was really kind of a first look, so it's not really like reviews as much as his first impressions.
Which we can do a separate review if you guys are interested.
We will. We'll do it. We can do a separate review after we play it.
But I am going to give it a 4.5 because like I said, I'm a very visual person, and this felt very congested. And
with the text.
With the text, and I felt like it could have been, like the text was fine, but there was just something weird about it that didn't sit well with me.
Well,
I felt like younger players may get overwhelmed with how much information was provided in such a short amount of time.
That is true. There aren't a whole lot of visuals for younger players.
And that's a big deal because I learned a lot of gaming through visual context when I was too young to read because I've been playing since I was in diapers. So, not even that young, but like teenagers when they're produced, when they're, when the information is produced for them, if it's too much, they're probably not going to absorb it as well as if it were a little more...
It could be a bit off-putting.
It could be off-putting. It could be overwhelming, even. Yeah. So, I'm going to give it a 4.5 just because I feel like the presentation, while I like the separate books, and that it gets a whole axe all on its own, I feel like that made it a little difficult to get into. And if I were taking this on as the dungeon master or game master, however you want to say, I feel like I would be too overwhelmed to really get into it.
Yeah, I agree with that, except I don't. No, I agree with that whole the whole sentiment about the lack of illustrations being detrimental to a work. However, I've seen a lot of books from high-end publishers that have a lot of illustrations to just as filler.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For, to pump it up. This is a 500-page tome, and it's got 480 pages of freaking illustrations and 20 good pages of information.
Yeah.
So
I feel like if there was an in between of that,
there does need to be I would say a few more. And I can understand about keeping down costs because they did want to get a lot of information out.
Yeah, but I feel like the art that they provided is magnificent. I'm not, bashing on the artists, but I am, except for that snake lady. I just feel that if they included just a handful more...
And Manny, the earth elemental.
I just feel like if they included a tad bit more illustration, maybe 10 more pages, or not even that, 5 more pages of having included more illustration, it would have been a little smoother in the progression. But that's literally the only thing I had a problem with. I liked the separation of the books. I liked the way that it described all of the different aspects of each individual book. I like how while it was overwhelming in its separate chapters, the chapters were very separated, and it was like you want this part of your character developed, well, this is this chapter and it's right there for you, but it's like, okay, where in all of this very small text is it? So what I like about it is also what I don't like about it.
Okay.
But I did really like the little minis that it provided. I thought those were cool. That was a cool touch.
Cool. Yeah. And I imagine...
And I love the maps, of course, because cartography in its own skill is a magnificent thing. What is it?
you said did you say cartography?
Yeah, is that right?
Yeah, I thought you said cartology.
No.
I thought she said something different.
No, I didn't. I said
I heard you wrong.
Blah, blah, blah.
My tongue got wrapped around my eye tooth and I couldn't see what I was saying. So, I'm gonna stick with the 5 axes because I think it's a welcome addition to the library. And,
so it
we'll
leaves
be playing.
this duo scale of 4.75 axes, but that's just with the first look. It could totally change with the actual review.
Yeah, I could give it a 1 axe if
we end up playing it and it ends up
sucks,
which
but it doesn't.
I don't think it will because
it's GURPS. I mean, it's
GURPS
based on GURPS, and it's there's no levels and it's just it's a cool system. I like it a lot. Just starting out. However, I've never been one to rest on one's laurels, and you know how I feel about that. I never mention authors. Why does that bug you? I never mention authors, and well, I do sometimes, but it's not because I want to.
It's because they've earned it in that moment.
They've earned it in that moment, yeah, and because you don't rest on your laurels. You don't produce. It isn't good because it's you. It's you because it's good.
Okay.
Does that make sense? It doesn't make any sense. But what it means is you make it good to make it good. You don't say that it's good just because you made it.
Right. Yes, I can agree with that sentence.
that one was a much better sentence, see? And that means that it's not a good sentence because I spoke it. It was a good sentence because I made it.
Because
that way.
Was a good sentence that just so happened to come out of your mouth.
So that is Dungeon Fantasy from Steve Jackson Games. It is standalone role-playing game based on the GURPS system. Don't know, excuse me, don't know how much it goes for, but I'm assuming that it might go for more than $5.
Probably.
I would look them up. Definitely look them up. For 2+ players, 60+ minutes, 13 and up, and not for children under 3 years old.
Because there are small components.
And this is also a choking hazard. No. Yeah, because of all the tiny little pieces in there.
Yeah.
Get lodged down Grandpa's throat.
Many pieces, many figures.
Yep. So, check them out. Google them. Go to SJ Games and tell them we sent you. And they might not charge you extra. And I think that's pretty much it. So
if you guys want us to do a review of this, please let us know. We would like to entertain you in any way that you'd like. Yeah. Hopefully not,
I'm not taking my shirt
off. Me neither. So, I take that back. I take that back.
Ian might.
Before we get too involved with that. So, if you guys want to see us review this game, please comment below. We would like to know your experience if you have played this game.
Tell us your stories.
Yeah.
What do you like and what do you not like about it?
Right, and maybe we can agree or disagree with you.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's the glory of the tavern. Everybody has an opinion, and I don't think... I've taken down a few trolls who were just obviously being dickheads.
Well, that's a troll for you.
Yeah, it's a troll. So it's always open season for trolls in the tavern. But if you've got a justified opinion, I don't think I've taken down any of the bad lip I got back from the.
You just have to bring that up.
I do, and I apologize for that. But it's one of those things. I didn't like the game, and I'm not apologizing for not liking the game. But. We're not talking about that game, though. If you like the game, you like the game. This is a game that I like, and you might like it too, and you might not. See, that's the whole individual thing.
That's why we have a rating system.
That's why we have a rating system. That's how we like it. So, with that being said, on behalf of the entire cast and crew of the Dwarven Tavern, I am your host, Dr. Jeff Goins.
And I am Lyric.
And we wish for you to want for nothing but adventure. And at first I feared it.
Then I charged.
Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.
Let the games begin and let the